As a writer, I feel moved to write about what moves me. So that space between hope and fear is very rich. And I wrote this book because, my own very real mother bear concerns about raising kids in a region impacted by wildfires, which have intensified in Northern California over the last 10 years.
Mhm.
Because of that. But I also wrote this book as a therapist, listening each week to young people and parents, very real concerns about the state of the world. And as a therapist, I want to create space for folks to process their emotions, but I also want to be able to resource them too.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Spoil Your Baby podcast. I am very excited to be here today with Ariella Shonkoff. She is a therapist who works with adults and children, and she is also affiliated with the Climate Psychology Alliance of North America. And she is the author of this wonderful book, Raising Anti-Doomers. This title just caught my attention right away, and I'm so happy for you to be here. Welcome.
Thank you so much for having me, Greer.
Yeah, so excited to connect with you today. So today we're exploring how to raise hopeful and emotionally grounded children in a world that can feel really heavy, and how our own nervous systems as mothers are part of that story. And I really identified with that feeling, and I feel like I have done a lot to move past the heaviness in the world, especially in my parenting. So I'm so excited to be even more resourced by your work. So for people who haven't read your book yet, tell us, what does Raising Anti-Doomers mean, and what was your inspiration for this?
Well, as a writer, I feel moved to write about what moves me. So that space between hope and fear is very rich. And I wrote this book because, my own very real mother bear concerns about raising kids in a region impacted by wildfires, which have intensified in Northern California over the last 10 years.
Mhm.
Because of that. But I also wrote this book as a therapist, listening each week to young people and parents, very real concerns about the state of the world. And as a therapist, I want to create space for folks to process their emotions, but I also want to be able to resource them too. So coming
Mhm.
up with tools for the book has been both like a professional and a personal endeavor, really. Yeah, so as far as the title goes, I think with the news being as heavy as it is, and climate change, and it can make you want to stick your head in the sand and like just it was in the course of writing the book that I came up with this concept or idea of anti-doomer. And I think it was just to counter this narrative of a doomer, like to
Yeah.
animate the opposite of
Yeah.
what of doomer, like to say,
Yeah.
there is scary stuff happening, yes, but it's not our destiny. We can raise hopeful kids, and we can lead fulfilling lives, and we can do much to protect and connect with, the what's called the more than human world, the natural world. And so the Raising Anti-Doomers title is very much grounded in hope. Yeah.
I love that. I love that. My son said to me this morning, there are only 600 Siberian tigers left, Mama. So
Aw.
we had a whole discussion about it. And yeah, our kids know what's going on,
Hmm.
right, in the world. And so do we. And there really is a really strong doomer kind of presence around, right? That's how people get clicks on news stories and social media
Hmm.
clicks and all these kinds of things. But I love the message that we can also, like, those two things can be true. That can be true. And
Hmm.
we can also be raising our little ones to be more hopeful and engaged. It's such an important message.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm curious, what would you say to my son's Siberian tiger comment?
Oh my goodness. I mean, would just validate, like, yeah, like it's sad that, these are the numbers, right? And that we haven't done more to take care of, our animal friends on this earth. And I know that there's a lot of people working on this as well. Like, there's a lot of good people that are working with, and there's like a network. There's scientists and there's activists and there's people who this is what they do for their job and they really care. And there's so many people who care, actually.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
there's this. I don't want to. I'm trying to think of the stat, but the vast majority of people, want their government in the world, want their governments to address climate change and take care of, all of, the natural world and do more to protect resources and take those actions. And so I think that's like the kind of, the messaging that can also be given even as you validate your sons, right? Like,
Mhm.
rational like concerns. Like, he's growing up and he's learning about what's happening in the world.
Yeah.
And we can't deny that, but we can also give some hope.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I did answer along those lines, and I said that there's a lot of people helping, and there's so many populations that we've protected of
Mhm.
animals and have gotten their numbers back
Yeah.
up to a beautiful place. Like, we can be successful at these things.
I like that because there are a lot of success stories. And I think I mentioned a couple of them in the book, but yeah, to say that like this has happened before. And yeah, out here we've had like, different bird species recover, and I mean it's incredible what can happen. And so
Mhm.
that's good. Good job, Greg.
Thank you. I mean, he's obsessed with animals and yeah, in nature, he goes to
Aw.
outdoor school, I told you, and so,
Yeah.
yeah, they're really attuned to it, which is
Hmm.
lovely, so it's important to support. So, yeah, so many of our moms listening they don't have seven-year-olds like me, they have babies, maybe they have older kids too, but certainly have a baby, in those really young years where our brains are so attuned to, like, be so protective,
Hmm.
and, assessing threat to our baby and, we're really in those modes, so I feel like probably even more sensitive to climate news and all, just news in general, right? That negative slant on news. Um, so how can, what's some advice for moms, being striking some kind of balance there between kind of being aware, um, and also, yeah, not sort of putting that anxiety on their baby or, sort of fostering this hopeful, engaged stance that you talk about.
Yeah. I think, yeah, it's tough because it's such a vulnerable period for moms and, for the little ones.
Mhm.
And I'm just thinking of like this image of holding, a tiny human to your heart, like while thinking about like these like larger existential concerns and like that. That's an intense image.
Yeah. And like
Uh,
having it right on your phone in your face, like,
yeah,
right?
so
Yeah.
close, right, and in your hand, and yeah, at your in your fingertips. But I think it asks that we be, it's asking like us to be sensitive to what's happening in the world, but also boundaried. But we can't be too porous, or we take too much in.
Yeah.
And so one thing I'd recommend to new parents is to play with what I call the sweet spot of engagement, and it's this idea of you having one foot rooted into, let's call it the muck of reality, and then
Yeah.
the other foot in this place of grounding, and kind of playing with that edge. Excuse me.
Beautiful.
Yeah, that alone takes practice because you don't want to jump into that muck completely to the point of panic, but
Mhm.
you also don't want to avoid or deny the hard truths either. So yeah, because avoiding will not help, seed a social movement or like equip your kids with skills, of just what kind of distress tolerance skills, right?
Yeah.
That they'll need in life anyway. Hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. What are some of the ways to be grounded?
Yeah,
Your
I covered.
mindset.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. Tell us more.
I cover like a lot of this in my book, but I have this existential body map that I created, so that's kind of a fun image to look at. But like the grounding comes in, like, maybe I'll just highlight, let's see, definitely staying socially connected, like staying connected to people, friends, being able to lean on your supports, which can
Yeah.
be difficult. It's an important part of early motherhood too, because you can feel really isolated. But
Mhm.
so finding good supports like that's one good way. And then yeah, I think I think creativity can be really helpful. I know for me in my early motherhood time, it was very helpful to have space to write.
Wow.
But tapping into kind of a creative energy and like making space for that can counter some of these like heavier
Mhm.
things coming your way. So I'm just like glossing over a little bit the body map. And then maybe we'll get into this a little later, but the natural world is key too, and spending time right outside and connecting to nature
Mhm.
and feeling into that connection, because you know when you're outside, there's so much that to look at. There's so much to receive with your senses
Yeah.
that your problems grow smaller in comparison. So that can be a helpful reset.
I love all of those suggestions. The connection, the social connection is so important. I always try to help moms have at least one other mom friend
Hmm.
who's right there along with them and can be supportive, but also to try to just select all the people who are going to be loving and giving during that time.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's really I think it's essential. It's like I call it the the parent club in the book too, like just connecting with other parents. I mean, it doesn't have to be your support, just other parents, but it can be really rich and
Mhm.
validating to have those connections with other parents. So there's like mamas groups, I mean, places that you can really be real,
Yes.
and about what's on your mind, right? And
Yep.
I have one today, even with my older kids, like a women's group I have.
Yeah.
And um, yeah, we're all moms, and it's really, really supportive for
I
myself.
love it. I love
Yeah.
it. Yeah, part of my professional certification, we've trained people now all over the world to hold mom groups
Oh,
for moms
cool.
with babies because I
Yeah.
feel the same way. Like it's so necessary. I have a women's group in my real life as well.
Yeah.
Um, it's revolutionary for us to be doing these things, right? Coming from this, very isolated
Mm.
kind of society, we can hear that calling to be together when
It's
we're
wild that it's like become revolutionary. Like it should. It's like it makes so much sense, right? Intuitively, this makes sense. It's almost like we're going back, or
Yeah,
or
it's a
we're
remembering. We always
yeah,
say that. It's such a
yeah,
remembering
beautiful.
because women were banned from gathering
Mm.
in a few
Mm.
hundred years ago, and we're
Hmm.
sort of still healing that wound.
Mm, I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so important. And then spending time in nature, again, has so many benefits. I talk about that all the time for moms and babies to get out. Um, any practices you recommend in nature? Because I feel like you touched on the awe, kind of experiencing that awe factor and like your place in nature. And that can be a really healing practice.
Mm, yeah, I think I mean with kids with like without there's I talk about in the nature-based practice, like having something you do regularly. And yeah, it could be on your own or with your baby, right? Or with your family. But whether that's going for a walk, once a week, or just sitting and writing in a quiet spot outside, or um, that's really important. But I do think that I love, in terms of like you know nature practices with kids. I like and you might know this from the forest school, but like the five senses, just really, and I've done this with my own kids. It's really welcoming, and through going outside and seeing, what the colors around you or the smells, right? I mean, sometimes even getting down on the ground or getting up on a rock and getting new perspective. from those vantage points, tastes. I mean, just really having your kids immerse and like really notice, and doing that for yourself. Because, it's all well and good when it's like up here in theory, but totally different when you go down into your body and actually, you know, um, experience that. And I think that like there's just so much, there's gardening, there's just kind of caretaking. If you see, I don't know, an injured butterfly, like with a wing, or like a hurt wing, or like a caterpillar in the middle of the sidewalk, or, gently like moving them aside, or just kind of like even those things can be really nice. But yeah, the awe, opening up to awe is a big one. And like I was saying, just this sense of what's called interbeing, with where we're part of something greater, right? Like we're all connected. That's like a term that Thich Nhat Hanh, the Buddhist monk Thich Nhat Hanh, gave to this, sense of connectedness between all of life. And it's really beautiful to feel into that and kind of melt into that. Yeah, it can be really relieving. And there's benefits too, mental health benefits too, from, spending time out in nature, as we know. I can go into that, but I don't have to.
I love it. I love it. It's so important, like, to us to like know we belong to nature. We're not visiting nature. We are nature. And when we spend time there, we experience that. And I love this, experiencing it with your senses. I definitely do that with my little guy. And how do we tell us about how to do that with a baby? Because I think, it's not too different than a child, but maybe people listening would be curious.
Sure. I mean, it's not too different. I think that in a way, there's just like there's like a real connection. Like babies don't have all of this, maybe active, cognitive, like, speak going on. They don't have this like this chatter to the same, so they're really present, and they're really seeing through those, those eyes, right? Those wide, open, curious eyes. And they're really taking in, through their senses. And so you can go around and you can kind of get up close to things, maybe like a branch of a tree or plant, and get a smell, or you can kind of model what you're doing too, right? You could say aloud, like, like, do you smell that? Oh, this, like, this pine, or, look, or want to touch this pine cone, or like smell this, the needles, the pine needles. Oh, look at this beautiful, sunset. Oh, what's this bee doing in this flower? Let's look. Just modeling that curiosity, I think is huge too.
Yeah, it really goes a long way. I was just laughing along as you were talking because I was just thinking of all those memories with my little guy as well. He loved the bees in our backyard in LA. He would go like, bzzz, and like ask to go out and see them every day. And the modeling really works. Now he's, like I said, he's 7, and he'll be like, Mama, this is the most beautiful sunrise I've ever seen in my life. And he notices, it really works. It really, really works, the modeling, which it's so important.
We, during the pandemic, when trying to figure out what to do with your kids, I took my kids to the park every morning, like during the week. And we found that roly-polies, they were obsessed with those little roly-polies. Yeah. And they would like bring them back and create these, what they call them, these little, like not a terrarium, but like that, this little ecosystem for them. Yeah. They would set up these, and it was just really sweet. Like so just also there's a natural curiosity that we can just support and be curious with them. And that sort of thing.
I love it. I love it. So those are so many great places for people to start to resource themselves and ground themselves between, like you said, like the muck and the grounding. I love that idea so much. And so, when we talk about raising emotionally resilient children, and in relation to climate, the realities of climate change and everything. What are some other kind of ways to begin to kind of nurture the kind of eco-consciousness or, that balanced thinking for them, even when they're really little?
So like how to nurture the eco consciousness within kids when they're younger.
Mhm.
Well,
Mhm.
I mean those are some of the ways I would say. I like
Oh,
this kind of, they do this often in kindergarten, but like caring for a seed and like watching it grow and watering it, tending to it, checking the
mhm.
soil, like
Little ones would
I mean
love that.
gardening. Hmm?
Little ones would love that. Yeah, it's great.
Absolutely. I think also, volunteering and, going out into the community and being part of, cleanups, environmental cleanups, or even you don't have to do the organized ones, but like, when I go to the hiking trails with my kids, I pick up trash. I don't really make it's like not a big deal, but they see me doing it.
Yep.
I think I embarrassed my my older kids sometimes when I do it, but it's all part of the modeling, like leaving the place, um maybe in a better, like, yeah, better than you found it, or like packing out
Mhm.
and leave no trace kind of philosophies.
Yep.
um I think also just this idea of giving back, like we're not, like we take a lot, right, from the earth, but there's a reciprocal relation, and can we steward and take care of places, like if we're at a campground, certainly like we restore it so how it was when we got there, but maybe even like go further. I don't know, like I had a friend who like helped. There was like eroding at a campground, and she was like setting up stones to kind of try to contain the soil. And I mean,
Mhm.
she's a real sweetheart. She was like sweeping the you know, she's kind of sweeping the campground as well. She made a broom out of out of like
Beautiful.
plant matter and was like sweeping it and doing
Yeah.
that. But it's really beautiful what we can teach our kids, what we can do ourselves, and feel
Yeah,
that connection into to the natural world that we're part of.
completely. I love
Yeah.
all these ideas because so much of like what, we're trying to do with like within my work is, raise babies who are resilient and able to nurture the world for the next
Hmm.
generation, to take care of all humans, plants, animals. And it sounds like what you're suggesting is really along those lines too, right? Really creating some of that natural, like wonder, curiosity, and
Hmm.
joy in the natural world as a way of them kind of carrying it forward
Hmm.
as, yeah, caretakers.
Just like the trajectory of childhood right now,
Yeah.
and how it's move towards a screen-based childhood, what Jonathan Haidt calls the screen-based childhood, the social psychologist, and
Mhm.
just how spending time outside is so healthy for little ones, for all of us. I mean, and the many benefits of doing that. And so like just
Mhm.
improved, cognitive function, improved mood and focus, lowering stress levels, and but also this building confidence, and creativity and independence and responsibility, and yeah, teaching kids about stewardship and care. And there's just there's so much to be gained from that. It's a really rich. And I mean, I think we
Mhm.
all can think of a story, right? Like many stories probably where we went outside and we felt much better. And like
Yeah.
as soon as we got to, I don't know, the campground or the river or the beach or whatever it is, a park, because you're in urban areas, even just a park, right? And or having an encounter with an animal, or even noticing one that you wouldn't normally notice. Like I saw a squirrel. I was like, yeah, like just before when I was coming into my office this morning. And I don't necessarily look twice at a squirrel because I see them all the time. But like I had like a little
Mhm.
moment with one. So yeah, like just like in a minute, our attitudes, our moods, our perspectives can shift, and we tapped into that. Yeah, that feeling of awe
Yeah.
that we talked about earlier. Yeah.
I love
So.
that. Helping
Mhm.
the kids, like, really understand, like how much gratitude to have for
Mm-hmm.
those moments in that world, and clean water, clean air.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, I love that as the activism that we can do as parents to protect the world, and maybe that can ease some of that those scary kind of ideas too, right? To know that we are doing something.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a form of, yeah, it's like a form of activism that starts with the family unit. And then it's going to ripple out from there into the communities and then beyond. And then it seeds these values in, our young generations. So their youngest generations, and they're the ones that are going to inherit, the world in whatever state we leave it.
Absolutely. Oh my gosh. Well, thank you so much for coming and sharing your perspective. I know that I feel influenced and inspired by it, and I'm sure everyone listening does as well. I want to show your book one more time for everyone interested. Here it is. And tell us where people can find your book and your work.
Well, I can certainly find it on anti-doomer.com, my website, and I
Great.
have some social media like attached there, but you can buy the book there as well. Mm-hmm.
Beautiful. We'll put
Yeah.
those links. We'll put those links on the show as well. So thank you again. I'm so happy we got to connect, and I learned a lot today. So thanks
Thank
so
you so
much for
much,
being here.
Greer. You're welcome.